Yeah, so welcome to this video guide on the new Heart of the Swarm unit, the Hellbat. This particular video I'm going to show you exactly how it works, where you get it, and really everything you need to know about it. So the first thing you should know is that it's produced by the factory. It only costs 100 minerals because it's the same exact thing as a Hellion. Like, it's the same unit. As you can see, a Hellion can morph into a Hellbat, and vice versa. There's a difference in health between the two. See, a Hellion's 80 health, a Hellbat's 135, and the way that's going to manifest itself is, let's say your Hellbat's at half HP, you convert to a Hellion, you're going to be at the same percentage, not the same HP total. So I'm getting a little bit of health by converting over, but none to make it, an advantage if you're like about to die or something. Okay, so good thing about Hellions is they do a ton of damage, they have a decent amount of health, they do take 2 supplies, but they're much more survivable. And they deal like a small arc of damage. It's not very wide, but it's it's nice. And particularly the Hellbat is really nice because it's like an infantry unit that costs no gas, and infantry unit, no gas, and uses armory upgrades and produces out of a factory with the reactor. So it's basically, if you go mech and get a ton of Thors and tanks, normally in the late game you end up with not enough gas and tons of minerals, especially with mules and whatnot. So this is basically a mineral dump that's a lot more it's a mineral dump that's a lot more it's a mineral dump. I'm trying to think of how to explain this. It's a mineral dump that isn't so fragile. So these can actually tank for your Thors and siege tanks, whereas Hellions can't tank anything. Like, these will handle your siege tanks. I mean, they'll handle Zerglings. They'll handle any type of infantry unit, like Zealots. The kinds of things that normally give players trouble if they're just using too many tanks for Thors. Even like Roaches, they can tank them pretty well, and they do a decent amount of damage. You do want them backed up by Thors and tanks, but they are still good. Another thing you should know about the Hellbat is that it's considered a light unit, so despite having a good amount of health, it doesn't take bonus damage from things like Immortals. So it's a good, kind of like a Zealot. That's its most comparable unit. Okay, so Hellbats are light and bio and mechanical at the same time. So they can be healed by medevacs. It's definitely convenient. But they're also considered mechanical, so they can be repaired by SCVs. Your repair doesn't seem to do as much health or heal as quickly. It might be about the same speed. I'm not sure. But the point is that Hellbats can be healed very easily by medevacs. So one good unit combination is Hellbats. Obviously this is more than you probably would have. Thors and Ravens. So what the Raven is good for is it throws down point defense drones, and this army is very good against anything ground, especially with siege tanks. And the only thing it's really weak against would be Tempests. Even with a Thor's explosive payload, it's still kind of weak versus Tempests. But the point defense drone pretty much handles Tempests all by itself. So we're going to go in, you can see how these Hellbats work in action. So not terrible damage to and you can see one of the weaknesses here is the size of the Hellbat. They're so big, they're kind of clunky. Like, they're taking up so much space that there's a lot of spread here. So obviously, if you were doing this, I'm almost maxed out with not many SCVs. But if you were doing this as a serious attack, you'd want more tanks and probably a couple more Thors. But it really depends on your gas total. Again, like Hellions, Hellbats are kind of a gas dump. Okay, so in this kind of army, you definitely want the Hellbats in front. You don't want your Thors. You could bring some SCVs in with this. Let's say you're coming in, you definitely want to use your point defense drones. They're kind of your defensive unit here. They're just going to absorb so much damage. Computer's being cute because it really doesn't have very many units left. If that's the case, you could possibly just use our new secret missile. Okay, so obviously this is not the ideal position for attacking, but if you did get, and this is why you want siege tanks to back up an army like this. I could use the Thors a little bit better, but they're not super strong against Colossus as it is. They're not bad though. Better than Marines are. Can be sure of that. Again, the real weakness of this army is air, because if you're having tanks on top of this, Hellbats can't tank air, tanks can't tank air. Thors are decent with their new attack, but they're not, I wouldn't go as far to say as they're strong. So you want to make sure you bring Ravens in to handle massive air units. But this is the video guide for the Hellbat, and I think that just covers it. I hope this video was helpful for you, and you can see the description for more Heart of the Swarm videos.